Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. I'm your host, Victor Rigoli, and I have a wonderful guest with me today in the studio. I want to welcome to the podcast Kari Waltz. Kari, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I'll just share a little bit about your bio here. It says Kari is a fine art painter, instructor, and content creator who you work mostly in oils and pastels, correct?
When
Mostly in
I'm
your
in the
studio,
studio.
right?
Mhm.
Watercolor and gouache, anywhere else. And we're going to talk about that watercolor in a few minutes. Since being introduced to the water brush in 2016, she has embraced journaling by documenting memories with watercolor sketches. And I hope you will delve into that a little bit in our conversation today. But
Absolutely.
Kari, where does your artist story begin?
Honestly, my dad's mom, my grandmother, was an artist, and my dad could draw quite a bit, quite well, but he just didn't pursue it. So I've always had that, I think, innate interest because of that. But I've always been artsy craftsy. When I was
Yeah,
little, I did all sorts of. I always had to have something in my hands. I just couldn't sit still, and I loved a brand new box of crayons, and I would keep, I would I just enjoyed the create. I had to do something creative every
right.
day, and I didn't say ever think of, oh, I'm going to be an artist. I never really thought that because um, I mean, when I was growing up, it was like, well, you're going to be a nurse, you're going to be a teacher, you're going to be
R-
an account, and
right,
so
right.
I really wasn't going on the do that professionally, but anyway, I ended up teaching for 30 years, and the
Wow.
last 10 years was in middle school. And when I finished with middle school, I mean, I did teach art in middle school, but I knew that I only had a minor in art in college, so I was missing a lot of things, and I
Right.
knew I needed to fill in the gaps from the knowledge that I wanted in order to paint or create the way I wanted to. So I just
Right.
started searching for, what I wasn't sure what my artist voice was because I'd never really tried to develop it. And so I tried oils, pastels, acrylics. That's why I sent a variety of things,
Right.
pictures
Right.
to you
And,
that are
and we'll share some of
in
that
different
shortly. Yeah.
mediums.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of, I think, searching for a way to use my art since I retired, and kind of kind of fell into teach. I love teaching, so I still do that out of my home, and then I go to workshops and teach on
Yeah.
location somewhere else.
But I
But
think in reading a little bit about your bio on your website, you're really passionate about teaching. It's where you get a lot of satisfaction and sharing your creativity and helping others to become creatives,
I do,
in
I
art.
do.
Yeah. Which is wonderful. Yeah. So you do oils and pastels and
Mhm.
gouache and watercolor, especially. But what do you favor? I mean, what do you lean toward? Is there one that you prefer over the other, or is it just I like them all?
I really like them all, but it all depends on what I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
There's the it's a curse and a blessing to know how to work in all the mediums, but the curse is, when you go and you take a trip, well, which do I take? And oh, I'll take everything. And then when you go to a scene, it's like, well, which one do I use? And then you have all these decisions of how big and how much.
Right.
So I've realized that less is more.
Uh huh.
And when you go when you go somewhere, that's why I've gone to the gouache and watercolor, because it's so transportable, portable.
Right.
And
Right.
and when I did the oils and pastels, I had plein air setups,
Mm-hmm.
to do each one, but it's bulky and it's heavy, and
Right.
it just I just got tired of it. So that's why I work at home with those. But the oils, I mean, portraits, I probably would not do a portrait unless it was in oil,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
because the nuances of the way you can shade and bend
Mm-hmm.
the object, and maneuver the paint, so acrylic. I've done some acrylic portraits, but it was like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And pastel, you don't get to mix. I mean, you can layer the pastel, but you have to have.
You can't really mix the pastel colors together. Yeah, gotcha.
But all my portraits, what I consider my successful portraits, are done in oil.
In oil, okay.
But if I want to do a painting and do it quickly, I'll often start in acrylic and have that as the underneath. And that gives it the foundation, and then I put the oil on top, and then the acrylics on the outside, so I can handle the painting and not on those gallery wrap, where you go
right.
So anyway, it depends on what I'm painting or what I'm doing. But I do love them all.
Yeah, that's quite interesting because I'm an oil painter, and we chatted a little bit before we started the interview, and I've dabbled a little bit with gouache and that kind of thing, and I do want to get and learn a little bit more about it and study some things in watercolor. And one of the things that I was just really fascinated by, and we're going to show some of Kari's work here in just a minute, but the thing that, and reading up on you in your bio, is you talked about this journaling that you do. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that. How did you get into that, and what is that all about? And because I've got some ideas of something I might want to start doing as I travel around to different places instead. Because I sometimes take my plein air box, but you're right, oil painting, I mean, it is so much to set up.
And then you have to worry about the paintings being wet.
Exactly. And it's like
a wet canvas carrier and all that.
Exactly. And I've had to build those, and it's like, goodness gracious, it's a lot to do. But it's like, well, if I could do something kind of small in a little book and do maybe something like with watercolor or something else that can dry pretty quick, and I've captured it. So let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
Well, what started it was in 2016, a group of artists that we had taken a workshop from Marcia Savage. It was a pastel and oil plein air workshop that got rained out. And so we were forced to be inside. And so we got to know each other. And so after the workshop was over, one of them said, hey, let's take a journaling class together. And the journaling teacher, the watercolor, it's Liz Steele, and she lives in Australia. So we were taking an online class from her, and four of us. One lived in New York, one lived in Tennessee, I lived in Georgia, and I think the other in Alabama. But it was just fun because we were all doing this together. So we were learning the process of how to go out on location, how to look at an item, whether it's a building. She did mostly buildings in the urban setting because she used to be an architect, and so she can easily draw her building. Anyway, so that's what started it. But what to me was the catalyst that just took it to a whole nother level was the water brush. And this is I was introduced to this in Georgetown, Texas, from an artist that I was looking in her window and observing and looking at her work. And she came up behind me. She goes, "Oh, would you like to come in?" And of course, it was a really hot, sunny day. Sure.
So, yeah. Get out of the heat.
We went in, and she showed me her work. And then she talked about a water brush. And I said, "Oh, what?" And she pulled it out, and she said, "This is what I teach with, and this is what I travel with because it's so convenient." And this is a Pentel water brush. Well, this one happens to be a medium, but the one that I usually work with is a large. And that's the only one that I really take with me because it's functions for everything I need. Because if you want a teeny little line, you just barely
you
touch
can do that,
paper.
right? Okay.
Yeah, but she showed me how it worked, and so I bought a couple of them from her. And then I went home and started playing to see how, because when you don't have to carry a water container with you,
right,
and you have the water in the brush, and I always, have my trusty water bottle, which I need a drink right now.
Okay, yeah.
got that. So I carry pipettes with me. You know, these little tools that you pretend like you're
Oh,
in
yeah, yeah,
science
yeah.
class. So you
Uh-huh.
just stick it in your water bottle and suck up some water, and then fill your brush with it if you
Gotcha.
need more water. But that makes it so convenient. You have no
Yeah.
excuse not to create and not to,
Right.
so I carry I carry it with me. I'll go get it in a minute.
Okay.
Um, my little kit that I keep in my purse, and it it makes it so portable. And I have a limited palette of actually 9 colors that I prefer to carry with me now. And like I just went on a hiking trip with my husband up to Amicalola
Oh, yeah. The
Falls
falls up
Falls
there.
area.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Linfoot Hike In, and the only way you get there is to hike up five
Right.
miles, and then we hiked over to Springer and back, and then
Oh,
down
yeah.
the
I've been to
next day.
Springer Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
had my journal with me, and so I would pull it out and do some quick sketches. So, when you can make it lightweight, now if I want to
Right.
make it really lightweight, I won't take a bound journal. I'll make a small one.
Okay.
This is a small leather one that I made for a weekend of activities, and so it's just
Right. Right. Perfect.
it's not real big, but it
It's
doesn't
about
weigh
like a
much.
3 by 5 inch size of
Uh-huh.
yeah,
And
roughly.
it's made out of one large, what not? It's probably 11 by 18 inch or so. One piece of watercolor paper,
Oh, wow.
and it's folded,
And you just
and
got it folded in there for the different pages and stuff.
yep.
And yeah,
So
that is so cool, so creative, that you're able to make that yourself. But a lot of that's probably come from trial and error over the years of what works and what doesn't,
oh yeah,
and where am I going and what can I pack and take with me? Because, when I used to do some backpacking, and I've been up on Springer Mountain and Appalachian Trail, and when you first start out, you take everything, and sometimes the kitchen sink, and then you realize I can't carry all that on my back, so I got to
yeah,
simplify and reduce down. And when you were talking about carrying things in and packing things in, and I said, there's no way I could take up from Amicalola Falls down there at the little ranger station or whatever it is, and go up that trail. I think it's a couple miles to the top of Springer
mhm,
Mountain,
mhm,
and carry my plein air kit up there, because
yeah.
I got a
It's
lot of,
too. Oh, I do too.
uh,
I mean, I have several really nice sets. The Edge
yeah,
Pro. I've got a Strata, that's metal, and I mean, but they're bulky. Even the small
right.
ones have weight.
Yeah, yeah,
So when I went to Italy in 24, um, I was the only one that did carry on only, because I knew I was going to work in my journal. And so I didn't bring
right,
anything bigger than what would fit in my journal. If I did a loose sheet and wanted to put it in, I knew it would fit.
right,
So 5 by 7 was the largest of anything I brought. And all my stuff together that was art related, and it might even included I have a stool that's just barely over a pound. It was about 5 pounds, all art stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And I was there 2 weeks, and there was
wow,
stuff I took that I didn't even use. But
yeah,
I'm working on reducing that, because now it's, instead of, I take everything, I might need that, I might need that. I think of it as, what's the worst thing that would happen if I didn't have this?
right,
And then instead of thinking I might need it, just look at what you have and use it to the best of your ability. And
hmm,
when you limit yourself to those few colors, I had two limited palettes that are just slightly different, and I can go grab those in a minute and show you. But there's so much you can do with with once you learn how to manipulate those colors. And then now that I have a larger palette that has 24 in it, and I call like greens, a lot of different greens, because that's a
right,
convenience color.
right.
If you're, when I went to Italy and also England and Scotland this past year, I journaled that trip too. And let's see, where is it? Well, hold on. This is my Italy trip. Um, But it, okay, time out.
That's all right.
It's frustrating because I thought I had my.
You've got me really kind of fired up about learning more about this journaling thing and simplifying, because when you were, as you're looking there, I'll just share this.
Okay.
You know, with my plein air kit, I've got a backpack and I had a bunch of oil paints tubes in it, and those things get heavy. And
They do.
I think the bulk of the weight of my my plein air backpack was tubes of paint, and I don't know why I carried so many when I went out earlier this week. It was like, you know, do I really need all this paint? And as you were talking a minute ago, it got me thinking of, you know, Victor, you ought to just really look at the primary colors, you know, and having some warm primary colors and some cool primary colors and some white. And from those, I can mix whatever I need to mix, and reduce the number of tubes of paint in my plein air kit, and cut out a lot of excess weight that I don't need to be carrying around on my back and that kind of thing. So yeah, simplify is the key.
Well,
you know,
there's also wet palette. Camille Priswatic has a palette saver where you can go ahead and pour out or squeeze out the colors that you want, and it's in a container.
Right.
And so as long as you don't tilt that, keep it level, you know, while you're traveling, then the joy of that is you already have your paints out. You don't have to take the time once you get there to get your paint. You just clip it to your easel.
Right.
And go.
Yeah.
So that helps.
An idea too. Yeah. That's an idea. Yeah.
My ADHD took over and I set down that journal somewhere. So
I know. Yeah. And it got me thinking about, and I think, excuse me, we talked earlier about going out and doing plein air painting, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I'm going down to Darien later this month, in a couple of weeks actually, and going out on Patterson Island and doing some plein air painting. And I was just thinking about what I'm going to be taking, and I really need to kind of simplify down, because it's like, okay, I've got to make sure I've got the right number of canvases or canvas panels. When I go out and do plein air painting, I like to use canvas panels because they're a little bit easier to carry.
So you don't have the light shining through it either. So
exactly. Really, and that's a very good point too. And then, you know, I do have a pochette box, and it's a pretty good size, but you know, if I really get into this, I might want to consider getting something that's a little bit lighter and smaller and simpler and everything. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an experience. But I love that area, and it's right up my alley as far as what to paint, the water and the marsh and things of that nature. So that's the main reason I signed up for it, because of the area, you know. So, but anyway, yeah,
I think you'll have fun with that.
But you do a significant amount of plein air painting, I would say. Wouldn't you say that you get out on a fairly regular basis and do some plein air painting, or
if you count my journaling, yes.
Yeah.
But I go to a variety, like I go to the Forgotten Coast down in Florida's Apalachicola area. Okay. They have an event called Plein Air South, and I volunteer for that. And that's when they have 12 well-known plein air artists that work in different mediums come as teachers. And so by being a volunteer, I pay half.
Okay.
So that allows me to be able to afford it. And but it's just being with those instructors and seeing how they look at the scene, how they simplify it, and how sometimes it looks like chaos until the last 5 minutes, and they can just bring it all together. And it's just, how did they do that?
Their approach, their process of it's so different.
But being able to see so many each year, this I think will be my 5th year down there as a volunteer.
Oh, wow, that's great.
And that in itself has just been very helpful for me. And so when we also plein air paint, we have time that we can paint and then they're mentors and walking around and giving us,
instruction or
instruction.
guidance and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. So
When
it
is
works
that
both ways.
event?
That's in March.
In March?
I
Okay, so
think
it's
it
coming up
starts.
for you.
It's
Yeah.
the second or third week. I think it's the
Okay.
second week, and then the third and the 2 weeks directly after that, or the 10 days directly after that, the Forgotten Coast on Plein Air is a different. It's not a teaching event, but it's a really good event if you're interested in seeing plein air painters and you want to support. What it is they give you a magazine and it shows you where the artists are going to be, so you can go watch them paint, and there's receptions to go to that are covered. Most all of this event is free because it's covered with a grant.
Okay.
And then at the end they have a big art sale, which is so fun to see all this work that's been created in the last 10 days. And some of the teachers that were at the first event also stay for the second. And then they have a huge, hundreds of paintings that have just off the easel that week.
Wow.
And then you get to see it and purchase it. And that all goes back to refurbishing the coastline,
Right.
and helping the environment. So it's
I
a
love
good,
that.
it's a win-win thing.
It is.
So,
It is. And that both of those are in the March timeframe. Is that correct? You said? Okay.
yeah.
So we'll have to talk a little bit offline about that because I think we mentioned somebody, a mutual friend or acquaintance that had mentioned to me about these events, and I think I'd looked into it a little bit, but I'm interested to kind of pick your brain a little bit more about that because, I just love to meet new artists. And that's one of the reasons why I do this artist stories in Middle Georgia, because we have such fabulous artists here in the mid-state, but so many of us don't know who they are and have never heard of some of these people. And so just being able to associate and socialize and to watch and learn from somebody that's out doing some plein air painting, because you're right, their approach may be different, and you're thinking, what, how's this going to come together? And within the last 10, 15 minutes or so, it's like, oh my gosh, look at this beautiful painting that they put together. And for the first hour or so, it's like maybe chaos, but then all of a sudden it all comes together. But we can learn
different
so
mediums
much.
too.
Yeah,
There was
exactly.
There's a lady last year that she put a glove on, and she worked in acrylics, and she used her hand as her palette, and she used palette knife, and she would work it out of her hand, and it's really fascinating.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's just
that would be so interesting to see that. So
yeah, things you never tried.
Yeah, I went down to St. Simon's a few years back. Olmsted did a plein air event down there. And a friend of mine who I met over Facebook, artist up in Ackworth, Georgia, and he was going to be down there. And I got to meet him. He participated in the plein air event there on St. Simon's. But I watched a guy, I think his name is Steve or Stephen Walker.
He's awesome. Yes, he's been, I met him in Florida.
And he was there painting the lighthouse, and it was up through some of the oak trees there, and it was almost like it was a frame around the lighthouse.
Did he backlight? Did he use
Yes,
backlit with the sun? The way he captures the sun is just fascinating.
So beautiful. And I went up, and while he was painting, I was talking to him, and I said what kind of surface that he was using, the board that he was using, and that kind of thing. And I can't remember if it was like PVA or PVC or something like that material, but it was really lightweight and firm, and it wouldn't warp, but it was just so lightweight, and so it got me thinking about how I could create different painting surfaces and what have you, that are convenient for plein air painting. But yeah, you learn so much when you're out there rubbing shoulders and talking with other artists and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just a wonderful experience. But let's excuse me, let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you face as an artist. When you're I don't know if you're this way or not, but sometimes you get a little overwhelmed sometimes as an artist. And, sometimes you might get a little frustrated about certain things, or maybe that last painting didn't go too well. And it's like, is it a dud or whatever? But how do you overcome things like that and certain challenges that you might face as an artist?
Well, that's a good question. Um, that when I was working, when I was painting more large,
Hmm.
uh, and then having to find a place for it
Right.
or a gallery for it, and then I just haven't. The business end of being an artist is not my forte. I
Okay.
just,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
common. It's common.
that's
Yeah,
frustrating to me.
it
But
is.
the fact that I was a teacher for 30 years and I have the income of that,
Right.
that I don't have to sell my work to put food
Right.
on the table.
Right. So you have
So
that retirement
I
from
have
teaching.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Hmm.
it's all, sometimes I make it a cop out because it's like, oh well, it, but it got to the point where I had so much art elsewhere that I wasn't keeping up with it. I
Uh-huh.
know it's like I finally said, okay, this isn't really working. So I just brought it all home, and then when I brought it all home, it was like, it's like I'm on canvas restriction. I was, what I was like, I was to me paralyzed from uh, to even create because I didn't have a place for it.
Right.
And it's like, well, if I paint another big one, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah. Where am I going
And
to put it?
or
Yeah.
and then I'm going to have to market it, and then I'm going to have to put a price on it, and as much as that sounds silly to people who aren't artists, pricing your work is difficult,
It can
and
be a challenge for people and difficult.
I've
Yes, it is.
struggled with it. I'm getting
Yes.
better,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I when I first started, I started painting what I thought other people would want to buy,
Right.
and don't do
Yes.
that.
Yeah. I've learned that too.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's a waste of your time
That's right.
because I'm always guessing wrong.
Yes.
And if you're painting what you love, it's going to come out in the work, and the people are going to appreciate it more because it's more of from your heart.
Yes.
So it took me a while to get
Kind
that
of
in my
learn
head,
that and
but
internalize that. Yeah.
there was one time, that time when I brought all that stuff home and I started looking at it, and I realized a lot of this work isn't me anymore. It wasn't that it was bad. It was just I'm better than that
Right.
now.
Right.
And I learned something from it, but I don't need it to remember that lesson anymore. So I took a utility knife and started cutting the canvases off the frame boards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was about 90 paintings that I either took off the
Stretcher
frame,
bars. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
stretcher bars,
Mm-hmm.
or I maybe the canvas was good enough to just gesso over it and
And
use it again if it
use it
was a
again.
nice
Mm-hmm.
gallery wrap. But
Right.
I think I got rid of 90 paintings. Now the
Wow.
the the painting itself, if it was a decent example, what I did is I just stacked them up, and then I
Uh-huh.
rolled them up, and it took
Yep.
about this much space,
Yeah.
and
I've done
so
that too. Yeah. Really.
but it was
Yeah.
so freeing
Right.
to get rid of or to move on the things
Yeah.
that you don't need anymore. And
Right.
I didn't want to advertise them for sale or reduction, because I don't have a lot of collectors, but the collectors that I do have, I don't want to devalue my work
That's right.
by
On a
by
something that you did 3 or 4 or 5 years ago that's
yeah.
not the same quality as you are now, because you're like a lot of artists, you keep getting better and better every year, right? And if
Well, I
you've done
strive to,
something,
yeah.
yeah, and I'm sure
That's my
you
goal.
folks, take it from me, she's better. But something that you did 5 or 6 years ago, it's like, "Oh, man." But I'm that way too, because it's like I had to clean up my studio because I've got art all over the house. There's art back here on this wall, there's art over here on this wall, and I'm in an
Mhm.
extra bedroom, and my wife tries to limit what's on the walls in the bedrooms, but there's one above over here, there's one over here. The other bedroom's got art in it, and I've got it throughout. 95% of the art hanging on the wall is my art. And then I've got my studio upstairs, but I was running out of room, and I had all these paintings that I did 4, 5, and 6 years ago. And I said, I don't want to throw them away, but I'm not going to sell them. But I did the same thing. I just took them off the stretcher bars, laid them out, rolled them up, and I've got these rolls in storage somewhere. And it's simpler to do that than have all these canvases stacked up somewhere. And what I've done is just put stretch new canvas on the stretcher bars. And so I've got a new canvas that I can use to paint on, and start new. And I love that. So folks, don't throw away some of your older stuff. Hold on to it, because we can learn from it. We can see the growth that we've experienced over the years. And some people are just starting out, save it. Don't get rid of it. I've got over here on this little desk here, a box that's got 20 or 30 little panels in it of paintings that I've done. And some of them are just like, man, I can't believe I painted that. And some are pretty good, but I like going through and looking at them every now and then, because I get inspiration, because there may be something in there that I look and say, I'm going to redo that. I'm going to do a bigger piece of that one, because I'll do like little studies, like 6 by 8 inch or 4 by 6 inch works. And I said, oh man, that looks really good. I want to do something bigger in the future. So they're kind of like color studies too. But anyway, rambled on a little bit about that.
Well, and that's what, to me, plein air work is. I mean, you go to a plein air event, and when there's a competition, some people paint large because that's going to get attention. Right. People, a lot more attention than a little bitty.
Yeah.
But when I took the pressure off myself to paint a pretty picture outside, and just to go out and with my eyes open to take the time to observe, hopefully get a good composition, squint your eyes. For years I got, squint your eyes. Why? Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I get it now. But, there's times when, because it softens the edges. It helps simplify the scene. You can
see shapes better. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I didn't know what I was looking for when I was, anyway. But if you just go out and, put a mindset in that I'm practicing, I'm looking for color. I want to see the true color that's there and try to work on capturing what I see in life. Then when I get home, I can look at my sketch and I have a good color notes, and I can paint large. I don't often from my sketchbooks, but if I go out with the purpose of it being a study, it's less stress on me when it doesn't look like a beautiful finished painting like those do this for a living.
Right.
But anyway.
I love that because that is so important. And I've learned from that that, when I go out, and going out in the future is to have that kind of mindset of, I want to capture something here. I want to learn about the color. I want to do a color study here. It doesn't have to be perfect. And, it could be something as a reference that I could take back to the studio, and
I'm going to grab something off the wall.
Yeah. And learn from it, because, that's the thing is when we go out and do plein air painting, and, maybe we're journaling there at the beach or in the mountains or in the waterfall or whatever it is, it's just taking all that in and learning from it, and taking what we see and getting shapes down and colors down and things of that nature. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think I had an experience earlier this week doing some plein air painting, and one of the artists I was with, we talked a little bit about that. And I said, well, paintings don't have to be perfect, because what is perfect to me might not be perfect to somebody else. And what I think is not perfect, somebody says, oh, I love that. I just got to have that. And I was talking to a photographer friend of mine, Steve Arnold. I went down to Tybee Island with him on Wednesday. And we got up and left at 3 a.m., drove down there, hoping to get a sunrise. and it was a little cloudy, but he was able to get some pictures. But he said, sometimes I'll take photos and I'll put them in frames and mats and stuff. And the ones I think will do good in a show, they don't get anything. And the one that I really don't least like, somebody buys it. He said, go figure. I said, I know. It's just art is in the eye of the beholder, because one person may look at it and say, I don't get it. And the person next to me says, I love that. I've got to have it.
There's something in it
that speaks to them. Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah.
The reason why I grabbed this one, it was a plein air piece on a linen panel, but it was a freezing day.
Oh, wow.
And the wind was up. It was in East Point, Florida. And I took two colors, burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. And so, even if you don't bring a whole gamut of colors, if you have a limited palette, very limited, if I want two colors, those are the two I'd bring, or transparent brown oxide would be fine too. Mm-hmm. But, something so you can mix the two together, makes a good dark, and you can lean it toward a warm or a cool. And then on some of this part right through here, I don't think you can see it, I had a squeegee and I just lifted off some of the color. It was one of the techniques that I'd learned from Michelle Held. So it's, don't think you have to paint true to color either. Just capturing, if you've never done it before, I would take one color out, a dark color, so that you can just look for the values and just work on that first and not overwhelm yourself with too many choices. I'm
learning so much, and folks that are watching this, I hope you are too, because what she said was just so key, is going out with a very limited two colors on your palette. Because when you were talking about burnt sienna and the other color there, I'll use burnt umber and ultramarine blue to mix some blacks and grays and stuff like that. And so, I could take those out on my palette, and maybe a little, white, and just get shapes down and colors down and tones down, and it's, monochromatic, painting, but I think it would turn out pretty good. I like that example that you showed there, that tree. I could sense, before you said how cold it was, I could sense that it was a cold winter day, based off what you showed, in that painting.
It was so cold, I had a hard time holding the brush.
Oh, wow.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But going back to the journaling, to me, what frees you up in the journaling is like this little book right here. This is a journal that I gave my husband on our 35th anniversary. And my goal was to paint 35 paintings in here before our 35th anniversary. But of course I worked from photos, but it started with our first date. And and went through
how creative and sweet.
Chronological.
Yeah, you were such a sweetheart. Yeah, that's great.
Look what space it holds.
Oh, I know.
There's over 50 paintings in this space, and I don't have to worry about where I'm gonna hang it, where I'm gonna frame it. And so it's like I can be creative without that. What am I going to do with it? Thinking. And then the joy, the joy is if you mess up a page, turn the page. Yeah. Start again. It's just a piece of paper in your artist journey.
That's right.
Sometimes like this one, I painted this down in Florida, and then I looked at it and realized, oh shoot, I missed a whole section of the building. And,
gotcha.
I thought I had my phone on do not disturb.
Well, that's all right. That's all right.
So anyway, I was writing about what I'd missed. And so I went over here and started sketching it again.
Oh,
and I said, I realized I missed a whole section of the tower. So I turned the page and started again. I will learn to pay closer attention starting with the pen. I don't have to finish every page completely to have learned something. This is one page in my long journey. Time to turn the page. So
I love that.
giving yourself permission to just,
Yeah.
hey, that didn't work out. I'm going to turn the page.
That's
And it's
right.
fine.
Start over.
And
Yeah.
and I mean, you can always cover up and glue something over if it's just absolutely
Terrible. Yeah.
terrible. And
But I doubt if you do anything absolutely terrible. But
well, I don't know, because I covered it up with an elephant,
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyway,
Gotcha.
but it's just, to me, and the journaling, I think I told you earlier, my children treasure the journals because they're my story.
Right.
And you don't have to have, I mean, it doesn't have to be a scene. It could be an item like that. That's, it's a can of a drink that I had when we were at a vineyard watching my son-in-law play guitar with a group of friends. And so it's like, I'd never had that drink before. So I sat down while they were playing, and
But there's a story behind it. Right.
There's a story.
Yeah.
And even if the painting doesn't turn out, the fact that you sat there long enough to be observant, to draw something or paint something, and you wrote it, you created it, even if the painting isn't good, your memory will be there. And so
that's right.
What I teach is the watercolor journaling, nature journaling, whether if you're into nature, but I call it a collect, it's a way to capture memories. And because there's things I would paint in my journal that I'm not going to paint on a canvas. Right. I mean, when I was in England and Scotland, and we had a delicious breakfast of Black Forest or pancakes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to paint a picture of that, but I put it in my journal because I wanted to remember.
Right.
And so I don't know. I've just gotten obsessed with it, but I love make it when you can make art convenient and lightweight. It can be done anywhere, anytime. And the two things that the journaling has helped with my studio work is drawing from life and working more consistently. So if you can do something that doesn't cost you much, and it's going to improve your overall work, then why not? And so that's kind of what I get, because there's a lot of artists that, like me, work in other mediums. But you go on a trip, I'm going to go to Switzerland, and I don't want to take my Prashad box and all your oils and whatever, but you want to be creative on your trip. That's what
it's an excellent way to do that.
That's what this method allows you to do.
Right.
And whether you work in watercolor or gouache, gouache is an opaque watercolor. And I didn't grab it here, but I have a journal that's just Smoky Mountains, and I have some gouache paintings in there. I'll grab this one. Okay, here's gouache in my Italy book.
Oh wow, beautiful.
That.
Yeah. Beautiful.
But because gouache reactivates if it gets wet, that's a danger in it, and sometimes a frustration when you're painting. But the paintings that are in my journals, I seal with a clear, it's a cold wax medium. And you just put a really thin keat on there, let it dry, and then buff it. And then that gives you a waterproof seal. And
okay. That's great.
Keeps your painting from.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you put some kind of spray or something on it to seal it, to keep it, from water. Yeah, that's good.
But
so
you want to protect it.
Yeah, when you go out and you paint a little bit and you're doing so you always write a little. Do you always write a little note or something that you might be experiencing, or is it just what you captured might trigger memories or something from that experience?
I usually write a little bit about it, where I am, and can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I can't hear you. Time out.
Okay.
Something just happened.
Okay.
I'll switch headphones.
Okay.
I don't know what.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
There's always
My
something that happens, technically in the course of doing podcasting, so it's no
Hold
big
on.
deal. Yeah. The way I always work through some of this stuff.
Can't hear you yet. Keep talking.
All right, I will. It's not a problem. I'm sure she's going to work out all the little technical difficulties there. But folks, this is just a great opportunity to learn a little bit about journaling. And this is something that I think I'm going to start taking up and learning how to do. And I may have to pick Kari's brain and maybe go up and meet her in her studio and take some classes and that kind of thing and learn a little bit more about these water brushes. I'm going to have to explore that offline, and she's kind of pricked my interest on how to do that. Because I think too, doing this will help you with your sketching and drawing skills, as well as your painting and color and skills as well. So this is going to be kind of interesting.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Well, we got over that little technical difficulty there. So
sorry
that's
about
fine. Oh, no, not a problem. I was just telling folks that there's always something that happens when you do podcasting, So, but anyway, I was just telling folks about how I need to really get into this and learn a little bit, because I think it will help improve your sketching and drawing skills as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's one thing that I have been trying to do. And I used to be, when I worked professionally, I took these classes. When I was in IT, and I took these classes when I was in management on, they're kind of like personality test. And it was a color coded people. And I found out I was a gold, and a gold means you're very structured and organized, and you plan out, you got your calendar, you set your goals, all that kind of stuff. And so, on my calendar, my Outlook calendar, I've got from 7 to 8 every day sketching and drawing, because I have to remind myself I need to do that, because I took some classes from Beth Smith, who's the owner of CAD, Cornerstone Academy of Art and Design. And, I said, hey, I need to work on some still lifes. And so I went down to her studio there in Kathleen, and I tell you, and she'll probably hear this, but it was, I say it was hardcore. And what I mean by that is, like, it wasn't this fruit bowl, it wasn't a couple of apples. I mean, she had the skull of some animal that had horns, and she had some cotton from the cotton field, and she had a kind of like a bottle of some oil and something else, a box or something. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're really throwing me into the fire. What I mean? But in painting that and working on that, I said, Beth, I need to focus on my drawing and sketching.
Have you ever done continuous line?
No. Let's talk about that. Tell me about that.
That is another thing that has changed my world. And I didn't grab the journal on that, but I can go get it in a minute. Continuous line starts, ideally you start in one place and you just draw with your pen on the paper, and you don't lift your pen up. Even if you need to go back, you just drag your pen. But occasionally, you do pick it up. Right. But David Boyd Jr., I think it's Noonan, I think he's where he's from. He was at the Florida Forgotten Coast, and he was an instructor for Plein Air South, and he helped me feel better about my journaling, because a lot of my fine art friends look at it and go, oh, why are you journaling? Why don't you paint big? You're so good at that. Why don't you paint big? And it's like, well, because this brings me a lot of joy, and I can do it anywhere.
Well, you have to do what you love and what you're passionate about.
Exactly. And so a lot of my frustration when I retired was trying to be an artist, and I tried to it's like, well, what do I do to be an artist? And well, you get yourself in a gallery, and you do the fair shows, and and so I tried, and it's like that. you have to try things before you realize if they're for you or not.
Right.
And I'm not saying a gallery would never be for me, but it just didn't click for me at the time.
Yeah.
And I just was just rather, so people go, well, where do you sell your work? I said, out of my home.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, come over and see it. Or if you want me to paint you a picture, I'll tell you how much it is per square inch, and you can see if you want to pay that much or not. But you know, I finally had to put the price high enough that that I valued my time, and that I wasn't giving it away. You know,
That's
and
right. That's right.
now, if I want to give it as a gift, that's great. But
Right. It's something
anyway,
different.
I digress. But going back
No.
to the continuous line, when he gave a demonstration of that and how he purposely wiggles as he does the line to make it a little imperfection. And it, to me, it gives it so much more character than having a perfectly straight, exact edge. And so when I started to embrace that, the first time I sat down with him, we were at a mill pond in Apalachicola, and mill pond is where the shrimp boats are lined up. And they're, you know, just as you think of a shrimp boat, has all the netting and just so much random stuff on the backside that you don't even know what it is. It's very busy. And so I sat down in my little stool and I stared at that shrimp boat, and I just started sketching it. And, you know, I realized, oh, I got off on that, but, you know, okay, move over, keep going. And I might have gotten off on that, but you just keep going. And the freeing thing about knowing that you're just going to keep going, even if you mess up, you know, because you're not going to get every line right. Right. But a lot of, when it's over and finished, a lot of times people don't even notice where you missed, or you missed something. Left, you say, well, I missed this whole part of the boat, right? And they don't even know. And so I started doing more of that. I have a whole notebook, a sketchbook of a lot of the continuous line drawings, and some of them I've videoed on my YouTube channel, so you could see.
Oh, you got a YouTube channel? Okay, I'm gonna check that out later today. Yeah, I will.
And it's Kari Waltz.
Like and subscribe.
Really hard. But I started that when COVID hit, and my students couldn't come to my house. And I realized, okay, well, I either just don't teach, which I didn't like, or I learned to do the video. And I didn't even know how to join a video. I didn't know how to do a voiceover, I didn't know anything about anything when I started my YouTube channel. And I haven't posted in a while because been traveling and doing other projects outside of art. But I mean, I was thrilled when I hit 100 subscribers and 500, and now I have over 8,000 subscribers.
Oh my gosh, which is good for you.
Really nice. But, you know, I don't have it set up where I make maybe $8 a month.
Yeah.
Hey. You know, but the
it's $8 more a month than I make. So, you know,
that's right. But the purpose of it was, for me, was to continue to teach, and so that if somebody, like when I taught a workshop just recently out of my home on the watercolor journaling. And so if we would do, if I showed a technique in class, then after class, then I'd scroll through my YouTube channels and I go, okay, that's that same technique, that's that one, and I'd send it to them. So they have other examples of how to do that same technique. And that's really helped me as a teacher, because, you know, when you sit and edit, you can zoom in on what you're doing, and then you know, it was just better that way. But the continuous line to me has become my life analogy, because your life isn't a straight line, and you make diversions, and you can't start all over.
I love that. That is so true. You just got to keep going. You're going to make mistakes along the way, but then you're going to make corrections.
And you just make the best of what you've done and continue on.
I love that, Kari. That is so true. Yeah.
So with that in mind, when he saw what I had done, he looked at it and he goes, "Why did you pick that?" And I go, and he didn't mean it as though he didn't like it. He goes, you did a good job. He said, but I said, because it intimidated me. And And I don't want to be intimidated when I sit down and look at something. I want to be able to have some form of technique in my head as to how am I going to attack that scene.
Right.
And
Right.
and I said, I'm going to be going, at the time I was going to be going to Italy, and Italy has, all these amazing buildings and all the intricate sculptures and all sorts of things. And I knew I would be seeing some of that. And I wanted to put it in my journal. And so let me find the page I'm looking for. But the joy of the continuous line is when I was on in Siena on the plaza. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see
right
that.
here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's just
So
using the continuous line technique. Yeah.
right, and you see the
Wow.
wiggles and
Yeah.
squiggles,
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh.
it's still it what it does, it gives you the impression of something without
Uh-huh.
being illustrative.
Uh-huh.
And so, but it's like, okay, that's round, that's straight, that's curved, and you do it quickly.
Yeah.
And but it's so freeing to know that, okay, I start in one place and I do what touches it, and I continue, I do what touches it. And I can do things really quick that way. And then I can follow up with a watercolor sketch over it if I want
Right.
to.
Right.
That particular day, I just left it plain. But it's just one way of attacking a scene. And so when I teach the class that I teach on watercolor journaling, is my goal is for, it might not be to like, you might not have a lot of beautiful things to finish that you have finished when you leave, but you have techniques that you
Right.
can pull from, that you can go, oh, I would do that with that. I would do
Yeah.
that with this.
Right.
And that's my goal, is so you have a lot of tools in your toolbox, kind of like, do I want to do that in pastel? Do I want to do that in oil? Do I want to, how do I want, what do I want the final piece to look like?
Right.
If I'm just capturing a memory and I'm traveling, I'm going to work in my journal. If I can still haul the other stuff, but I don't
Right.
usually
Right.
do that. And like when I'm traveling with somebody that's not an artist, I definitely just work in my journal, because
Yeah.
you don't want to say, excuse me, I'm going to be here for another 2 hours.
Right. Right. I got to set up all this, and you
You
go
got
out
the
and
music.
enjoy the day. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it to me is just, it allows me to be portable and not be invasive on somebody else's time.
Right.
Sometimes I'm not able to paint on location. Sometimes it's the weather that keeps you from painting on location, but sometimes it's just your travels. And so
Right.
I'll take
You just,
a photo, or maybe do a little bit of a line drawing, and then know I'll come back to it later.
mhm.
But you want to be considerate with whoever you're with.
That's right. And you have to be. Yeah. You have to be.
So,
I want to show some of your work. We've been talking here almost an hour, believe it or not. And I'm
oh
going to
wow.
bring to the stage here. I'm going to kind of go back here real quick. Sorry about that,
Okay.
folks.
That's
But
all right.
go back to the beginning here. And Kari had sent me a lot of reference photos from her work. And we've got about 6 slides or so. And we're going to go through these. And I want you to talk a little bit about these paintings that you've created, what the medium is, what inspired you to paint this or create this. So let's talk a little bit about this person
Okay.
on the left on the horse.
The first one, Middle Georgia Arts Alliance was having a show, and it had to do with light, and I can't remember the exact title, but I was searching through things that I wanted to capture an intense light. And a friend of mine is a photographer, and he took this picture, and I shifted the light on the floor so that it would interrupt the foot of the rider. It was originally all in shade, and I wanted to break that
Okay.
line.
Yeah.
And so, but this is done in oil. It's 2 by 2 feet. And it's one of my favorite paintings that I've ever done.
It's
And I
beautiful.
was experimenting with it too. I started an underpainting in acrylic with a copper acrylic color underneath the brown in the back. And then where the light was, I put a metallic gold acrylic. And so to me, there's just a very subtle hint of that underneath the oil paint. So I was just experimenting and playing, and I think I even put some charcoal on some of the stuff in the back, but I sealed it with a spray at the end.
Okay, cool.
And so yeah, didn't win a prize or anything. It wasn't really there wasn't a competition, but I was displaying the work with a group of other artists.
Okay.
And the one on the right was this was a happy accident. You asked me about that, and it's like what happened when COVID hit is the first Forgotten Coast on plein air that I was going to go to was canceled because COVID.
Okay, right.
And so they were going to do a virtual plein air event. And so it's a quick paint is what it's called, or quick draw, whatever. And that's set up to where you have your canvas plain before it starts, and then they blow a horn, and within an area, all the artists are within a certain parameter. Well, we couldn't be there, so they sent us 40 slides. And so we had 30 minutes before time to look through the slides and pick something to paint from. Well, normally plein air, I would not paint a bird because they move.
That's right.
But there was this bird that was in one of the photos, and I thought, oh, I'm going to paint that. And I had an 11 by 14 panel that was already, you can tone your canvas. And
okay,
it was already,
you had kind of primed or toned, yeah.
It was toned in gold.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, that will get the light. Well, then when time started and I started sketching, I did some little thumbnail sketching, I realized, oh, I don't like this rectangle anymore. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to grab my utility knife, and I went to the kitchen and measured it out. It was on 11 by 14 panel. And so I just measured it to another 11
inches. Just cut it off there?
I cut it off and made it square.
Made it square.
So I it was just like, oh.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, Kari. So,
and you're under a time limit.
That's right.
You're under a time limit. So I'm working it and doing it. And I was also trying to film it at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And that
what a
didn't
challenge.
work.
Yeah.
Well, because I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool on my YouTube channel to show the process. And then, Wi-Fi went down and some other stuff. And it's like, oh, shoot. And so, when I finally finished it, I was not embarrassed by it. But
I think you did a great job. I love how you captured the light there on the right side. You can tell the light's coming from that side and just illuminates the neck and area.
I mean,
it did. Congratulations.
It won first place. Well,
congratulations.
It's weird how, like you say, some people like but all I could think of was all the frustration that I went into to create this.
To get to that point,
To get this point. And when the next day, when they were calling out the winners, I was looking, one of my students had entered, and I just loved what she did. And so I was waiting for her name to, pop up.
To pop up. And
then eventually mine did. I went, what?
What? You're kidding me.
But it's just, you do the best you can in the moment. And my gut was it needed to be square. Yeah. And so I just cut it off.
Awesome.
And so it ended up okay.
Yeah.
This is a granddaughter of a friend of mine. I have done all
such
her
a beautiful
painting.
This
is about the seventh one I've done. She likes to have her grandchildren painted about age 4 because they can their personalities.
Yes. And that's a good age for that.
She has them take the photographs taken specifically so that I can paint from them. So I usually have a really good reference. And this was at a wedding, and the strong light, casting that shadow. But just children are hard in the fact that their facial structure, that there's just a tiny shift of color or value can make a difference. But I was really pleased how this one turned out. And this one's 12 by 12 inch in oil.
And then the one on the right, when I saw it, I said, "Oh, I've got to add it to the slideshow because I'd love." Of course, you and I talked, and I told you I love the beach and the ocean, that kind of thing. And you capture that dog. It looks like, does he have like a little ball or something in
He
his
has a
mouth there?
tennis ball in his
Tennis
mouth.
ball, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, wow, that is so cool. And now, is
Yeah.
this
And
an oil or pastel or acrylic?
this one's acrylic.
Okay.
Yeah. This, and it's 2 by 2 feet acrylic.
Okay.
So I want, when I sent it, I sent a variety of, I don't think I sent you any gouache, but because, anyway, so
yeah,
I
love
it was a fun painting to paint, and I put it in the National Fair in Perry, and it sold. I think it came in second, and then it sold. So
awesome.
I don't have it anymore.
Now, the one on the left here is one that you did plein air. Is that correct?
I did. And
where is that at? Where is this?
This one's on St. George Island.
Okay.
In Florida.
Okay.
And this was at that plein air event. This was on Plein Air South. Plein Air South was the teaching event, and Kathy Odom is one of the artists that has taught there for a few years. And when she demonstrates, I didn't know she did this because I was assigned to her as a volunteer. And so when I got there at the event, and I said, "Okay, I'm here to help you," and she goes, "Okay, well, go get your easel and set it up right there." And I went, "What? You want me to do what?" And she goes, I want you to paint with me." And so I, okay, because I was going to do what she tells me.
How cool is that?
So she was painting it a little. She had a vertical that she was doing, and then I was doing mine sideways. But what I love about this one, and some of my favorite surface to paint on out in oil outside, is an aluminum panel. Because if you mess up, you can just wipe it down.
You just wipe it down? Okay. How convenient. Yeah.
Very convenient, very forgiving.
Right.
But yeah,
it's
when
beautiful.
everybody gathered around to watch her paint and that saw me there, it's like they're thinking I'm just really rude.
Look at these two professional, top of the famous artists here. Right.
I said, I just want y'all to know she told me to sit here.
Yeah.
I'm her volunteer. And she goes, yeah, she's right. Anyway, I was kind of embarrassed but I was really pleased how it turned out.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know that building is one of the restrooms. So, but
see, I wouldn't have known that. We wouldn't have known that until you told us. Yeah. Now, the one on the right, is that down in Andersonville?
It is. It is.
Yeah. Is this in oil or pastel or?
This one's in gouache.
Gouache. Okay.
Watercolor and gouache.
Okay.
And I went there.
One of the monuments down there.
It is. Sure. It is. My family went there the day after Christmas. Okay. And if you ever want to go to Andersonville, if you go, now this is the side where the Civil War POW camp was. Mm-hmm. And it's not in the cemetery. The cemetery's to the side, but the cemetery had wreaths on every headstone.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. I bet that is beautiful.
For Christmas. But yeah, this is a great example to me of just documenting a memory of, I was with my family, took this trip with us. It was day after Christmas. We just wanted to go down and look at a little history and visit the museum. Mm-hmm. And we got there early in the morning. It was at 8:00 when they opened. So you had the really nice warm light coming in.
Right.
So that, go ahead.
I was just going to say, here in the Macon, Warner Robins area, there's not a lot of places to go and do plein air painting. But, thinking I had forgotten about Andersonville and my family and I, when our kids were younger, we would go down there around certain holidays and stuff, and picnic and what have you. But I'm going to have to make a trip down there, just make a day trip and just there's thinking about it. There's probably several things to paint, that you could do down there in that area.
And I think it's the last weekend in April. No, last weekend in March. They have a live history presentation on that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So
wow.
I know a lot of photographers come in and to take pictures at the time. But
I can't wait to go back and watch this as I record it, because I'm going to be taking some notes of all these events that are happening. And March is a busy month. So guys, take notes. But yeah, I love this and what you've captured there. Yeah.
And I found out about that art history from talking to a ranger there, a volunteer, and she saw my sketch. She saw my sketching, and she goes, "Oh, I want to sketch." And so
yeah,
I showed her a couple of things, and she said, and I asked her if artists could come paint during that live history presentation. She goes, "Oh, that would be great." She goes, "We have photographers come, but yeah,
great to have some
do
artists." So this is one of your setups here that you have.
Yes, that is the setup that I usually have in my purse. It is a very small Altoid tin that has 4 colors: your basic primaries plus burnt sienna. That's my go-to
color.
Smallest travel one. And then the other 4 are a version of primary, but they're more like your printing ink, like it would be the magenta,
like your print cartridge in your printer, right?
Yeah, think of print cartridge inks.
Yeah.
So it's a new gamboge, a opera pink, or a magenta, and a peacock blue. And then I also put purple, because purple is just a convenience color. Anytime I work with greens, which a lot when you're outside, greens, when you add a little bit of purple to your green, it neutralizes it a little bit.
I started doing that,
it doesn't kill it as much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it has some of the complement, but it's not the pure complement.
Yeah. And you can get some darker greens with adding some purple or violet to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool. Yeah,
so this is in the Smoky Mountains. I was down there.
Okay.
And
this is the top left one there. That's one of your water brushes, right?
Right.
Maybe the bottom one too.
Both of them were painted with that.
Okay.
And the top one was the one I pulled out a little while ago of the tin can from the drink that I had, because it doesn't have to be a scene. It can be an object. It can be one thing that brings back the memory of what it is you were, where you were. Right. And the one down below is when my husband and I went to England and Scotland this past year to walk the West Highland Way. It's a 96-mile trek. The one in the lower is the Bridge of Orkney, and I sat down and it was a beautiful day and just sketched the bridge. I have another picture with the painting and the bridge in it, but that shows the wide range of colors that I took on that trip.
Right.
And it just helped me paint faster because I didn't have to mix colors.
Yeah.
But it's still a small, compact travel watercolor palette. Yeah. So the main thing you want small and compact. So it fit the need on that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this is our last slide, and and we talked a little bit because we went through these before we started the interview. And when I first opened this up in the email, I said, "Well, she's got a couple of leaves there. I mean, what's the difference?" And I looked, and I said, "Oh, one's a painting, and one's the actual leaf that she painted from." You did such a fabulous job. I mean, just so realistic. And this is watercolor, is that correct?
This is watercolor.
Oh my gosh.
I do work with professional grade watercolor, which has very intense pigment. And once you've tried professional, I mean, I did student grade for a couple of years because you think, oh, that's so expensive,
Yeah.
But professional watercolor lasts a long time, and you get such bang for your buck. These were a leaf study that I teach in Wild Acres Retreat Center 3 weeks out of the year. It's in North Carolina, right off the Blue Ridge Parkway. And commercial for 1 week, all inclusive. It's like $950, your food, your lodging, and your class. And so I teach in the morning, and then I'm with the students all day. We go on field trips and, take time off to go paint. And this was the first time I taught in the fall. And so the fall leaves were everywhere. And so we went out and picked up the leaves, and the joy of finding a leaf that fits on your paper is you can trace it if you want to,
Uh-huh.
and then you don't have to be all hung up at being accurate.
Right,
But
right.
I wish I'd taken the picture the day before. This was a day after I painted it, and the leaf had turned a little more brown.
Mm.
And so I don't have quite as much of the discoloration that I do in the true leaf. But it's just so fun to document leaves, and you can document where they are, what kind they
Mm-hmm.
are. One of my students had a botany degree, and that's such and such a plant, like the one on the
She
right's a
knew,
rose.
right? Yeah, she could
She
tell
knew
you.
exactly
Uh-huh.
what they were.
Right.
And so I have them in pencil, but I hadn't traced over it yet when I took the picture. But it's, the joy of journaling is you find they're all personal, and whatever you do is going to be your voice. It's what
Mm-hmm.
you're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
and places you've been, people you've been with, things you've seen. And whether you work little bitty or great big, my littlest one is an inch. It's teeny, and I don't
Right.
normally, that was a challenge. A friend of mine just gave
Right.
it to me kind of as a joke.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
here it is. See,
Okay.
little
Okay.
bitty, teeny
Yeah.
tiny.
Wow.
But there's pictures inside. So
Wow. Look at
that's a
that.
cactus.
How
So
about that?
anyway, you can get as extreme with it as you want, and you can make your own journals, or you can buy them. You can have journals that fold out like that. So
Wow.
but having something that's just for you, and
Yeah.
you don't have to you don't have to show anybody if you don't want to.
That's right. That's right.
And
Yeah.
it can be I have a journal that it says, this is a learning journal. I'm going to give myself permission to experiment, to play with whatever suits my attention at the time, or something like that. But
Right.
just allow you time to play and create without having an end result having to be beautiful, because
Right.
everything you do is going to help you grow as an artist. You don't have,
Right.
I learn more from my mistakes than I do from my successes. And so anyway, got a lot of mistakes, but I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
I've learned a lot today too. I mean, and I hope as folks watch this that you will learn a lot too. I mean, allow yourself to make mistakes. Paint what you're passionate about. Don't paint what you think might sell. And that's something that I've been striving to do, because it's like, well, should I paint that? Could I sell that? And it's like, I really am not that passionate about it, so why paint it?
yeah,
So because I probably won't do as good a job. You know what I'm
it,
saying? Because it's kind of forced, to do
yeah,
it. But I've learned so much today from just sitting here talking. I'm inspired to try some different things and learn some different
I
things.
hope so.
Yeah, I definitely have. I want to ask you as we wrap up here. One of the things I've been trying to do as part of the interview is just ask some random rapid fire questions. Okay. So,
Okay.
what is your favorite color and why?
Oh gosh, probably green.
Green?
Teal.
Teal?
Teal. If you
Okay.
get real specific, I've just always loved it. I don't know. My eyes are green, and
Okay. Okay.
that might be why. But
Okay.
teal.
Okay. All right. All right. Uh, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's dangerous. Um, okay, I don't mean this cliche. What if I could
Oh,
see people like Jesus sees people?
yeah. Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. See
not
their
no.
heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's good. What's your favorite holiday and why?
Well, that's a good one too. Probably Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving?
We
Okay.
we because years ago we decided we're not going to exchange gifts anymore for Christmas, and
Uh-huh.
we go on a trip, or we do something as a memory. So
I love
that I
that.
like about Christmas,
Yes.
but it's
Yeah.
not during Christmas, so I can't really count that. But
Okay.
yeah, Thanksgiving, I mean, it goes back from when I was a little kid, and we would go stay at my grandmother's and play games in the backyard and time with our cousins. And then now that I'm not near them anymore, but my own family comes here for Thanksgiving, and we all pitch in and cook. And one of my son-in-laws is a chef as a hobby.
Okay.
He's a lawyer by trade, chef for fun.
Wow.
And so it's
Hold
just
on to him.
yeah, I think I will. Yeah, the first year he was in our family, he prepared the whole Thanksgiving feast.
Did the whole deal, huh? Wow.
And we were his sous chefs in the kitchen. It was a lot of fun.
Okay.
But it's just a time to be with family and enjoy time together.
I've had a variety of artists, you know, that I've interviewed. Some were like 4th of July. I had another one or two said Thanksgiving, Christmas, of course. You know, those are kind of the key. One person said New Year's Day because it's a chance to kind of start over and start fresh, which is kind of cool. So the last question is, describe for me what your ideal or dream studio would look like or be, or what you would have.
Oh, wow. I've actually thought about that a lot because I thought, well, I could redo my back porch, but then we wouldn't have a back porch anymore. I would want it large enough that I could hold a class in there. And I would want north light, windows from the north, and a lot of ventilation, a lot of wall space, or things that I could easily put on the wall. You know, there's different wall units where you can set things up, and you can even have your painting on the wall. And a larger. It's what's hard for me is to paint large. My easel will easily hold 2 by 3 feet or 2 by 4 feet. But when you get wide, I have to go out on the back porch, because I just don't have the room to go wider. So it'd be nice to have a big enough wall that you could really have fun with and play and see what would happen if you did something really big. But good lighting, it would be huge. I have astigmatism really bad, and my ophthalmologist said, well, you're going to need a lot and lighting then if that's the case. So anyway.
I think that's common among artists as far as their space and lighting, having good lighting and ample space.
Well, one thing
thing
I love about my husband is he's so gracious about, he's very supportive of my art, but like in here is my computer place where I film and edit. And then right over here is where I'll do oils or pastels. And in the corner in the living room, I have watercolor and gouache.
Gotcha.
So I have little stations for the different mediums so that, you want it convenient so that you can sit down and work. You don't have to get everything out. And that's the joy of a true studio. You can leave it out.
Right. I like that. And I kind of I have my studio's upstairs above the garage, and it's about 12 feet by 20 something feet, so it's long, but being above the garage, I've got like a 3.5 foot wall, or maybe almost 4 foot. And then it goes up like this. So I'm constantly bumping my head as I get close to the edge, so, and I have limited wall space as far as hanging paintings and that kind of thing.
Well, you see, I use it.
I mean, you got to take advantage of every little square inch that you have. But,
and this wall is covered. You can't see it, but it's covered with things that I'm not going to sell. They're things I've learned or things from instructors that are my inspiration.
Well, this has been great. I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I mean, I've learned so much, and there's so many other things that I'd love to just sit down and talk with you about. But I'm looking forward to meeting you in next weekend, next Saturday, as we attend a class together up there in Forsyth. So we'll chat a little bit more then. And I'd like to maybe in the future, 6-7 months down the road, touch base with you, get you back on and say, hey, let's catch up with Kari. What's been going on? Because you teach, and I'm going to include all her social contacts there in the show notes. So if you want to reach out to her, find out about some lessons, you want to follow her on Facebook, you want to check out her website, that kind of thing. Because that's one of the things I do, Kari, is I, one, tell stories, and two, promote you and promote who you are in your artwork and how people can find you, how they can purchase your work and that kind of thing. And excuse me, another thing that I started doing this year is trying to promote art events that are going on in the Middle Georgia area. Like maybe there's a show coming up or an exhibition. Let's tell about it, so encourage people to come out and support the arts in Middle Georgia. But thanks again so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh, you're welcome. I enjoyed it.
It's been great. And thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. Please like and subscribe to our channel and take care, everybody. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye now. Bye, Kari. Take care.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. We really appreciate our audience and would love to hear about other artist stories you'd like for us to share. Please email us or leave a comment. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and like and subscribe. Keep painting, everyone.